Hey guys, this is Brian Thomason, and this is just an introduction or some of the basics for suspension training. And this is fitanywhere.net. All right, so let's get started. Suspension training is a strap-based system that is essentially created by Randy Hetrick, probably about 15, 20 years ago now. And TRX is kind of the main company behind it. That's Randy Hetrick's company. The suspension unit itself is an extension. It's meant to be an extension of body weight training. So we can get everything we need to get here on body workouts and that without using any other device. So I've got mine on a door anchor, a door mount. If you buy a suspension training kit, and you can get those on our website at fitanywhere.net. You can also get them on the trxtrainingcenter.com, trxtraining.com. So the door mount itself usually has a bag or a little ball here at the end. And you can't see it, but I've got a little carabiner clip here, which is the top of your suspension unit. Now, what I've done actually is I put some wristbands, some large wristbands here, because I use the door mount pretty often. I've got another one here that goes over the door for a little cushioning. So it kind of saves the door and whatnot in the frame. And then this one over the hard piece, that carabiner, okay? This is a Pro 4 unit. I really suggest that once you move into kind of the intermediate advanced levels of TRX and suspension training. It's a little more durable. They're made for commercial use, so made for 4 to 6 classes a day for years on end. So with that door mount, I'm just going to slide. And again, I've got that little wristband there at the top. I center it on the door. Okay, so when you're working off of a door, two things. Ideally, that door will open up away from you so that you've got the entire frame of the door supporting your body weight. Now, there's one exception. If you've got a really heavy-duty entry door or another heavy-duty door that has a real good bolt on it so that you're setting that body weight against the bolt, that's going to be a little bit of an exception to the rule, but you just got to kind of see how the frame holds up for you. It depends really on how much you weigh, how big you are. You know, I'm 6'2", 200. So I've got to make sure I'm working off something that's pretty durable. If you're not working off a door mount, you could be working off a wall, or you could be working off a ceiling or a beam. You can take this out on the patio into the garage. You can take it to the park. Really, as long as you've got a really solid surface, it can go into concrete. It's obviously going to be easier if it goes into a stud or a beam system. And you can actually go to trxtraining.com and go to their store, and you can get it's called an X mount that has some really quality wood screws that can give you some solid support for this, okay? You can also go to your local hardware store and get something and just tell them what you're doing, and make sure those are really solid screws. Obviously, if you're going into wood, really solid wood screws, you've got at least 2 of them. That's not going anywhere, okay? It's nice if you can get that anchor out over the wall, because it gives you a lot more freedom to do your exercise work. Most of us are going to be confined. They're going to have to do door like I am, or you're going to be out working off of a wall, okay? That's okay. Protect your wall, maybe even get some padding down here on the clips or something like that. So getting started with suspension training, a little 101 basic stuff here. Every exercise, with very few exceptions, we want to keep a little tension running through this strap line. We want that tension to be constant and optimal, okay? So really, we're not looking to see exercises where we're getting a change in that tension. So we're not falling, catching, no jerkiness, stuff like that, okay? Now, all your suspension units will have some sort of adjustment. Some of them have little buttons. This one has a little clip that you tilt to open. So if you're working off this, you're using this tab to move your suspension unit in terms of lengthening or shortening. That's going to depend on the exercises. If I'm doing some row exercises, I'm usually at least going to be mid-length. So I'm going to come about halfway. And the other thing is short, okay? So I'm coming all the way up for a short position. And then from there, if it's going to go up any higher than that, we call it kind of overextending. When you go up from there, you're no longer pulling the tab. It's at the top. But you want to keep track of the strap that is attached to the tab when you're making other adjustments. So if I'm going to go overextended, I'm going to get those little ears, and I'm usually bringing the handle up right around the navel or at least above the waistline, okay? And to come down, you're going to push that button or tilt that clip. Just make sure it doesn't fold under itself. When you get those knots, that can be hard to get out. So just kind of make sure it doesn't fold under. And with the newer systems, you've got what's called a locking loop here at the top. That allows you to work with one strap, doing single arm exercises without that going anywhere. Now, if you don't have that, real quick, this is one single handle mode, goes like this. So again, I don't have a locking loop. I'm going to go single handle mode. I'm going to turn two handles into one. So I consider this strap on my right hand the A, on the left the B. It's going to be handle through triangle, handle through triangle. I just got to keep track of A's and B's. So I'm going to have the A handle go through the B triangle, and I've got to keep track, because once that is done, I'm going to have the B handle go through the A triangle. And then I just pick one of these handles to kind of grab and commit to, and now I've got it locked, and I can use this as a single handle for like one arm rows and whatnot. Okay, one arm chest press as well. So usually your clip-on height, so when you clip in, so my clip is actually real close to about 6 feet. And that's probably about as low as you would go. And that just has to be that way with the door mount system and the height of your door. But ideally, you're clipping in at about 6'4", 6'6", and no higher than maybe about 7 feet. Now, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes it's going to be higher, sometimes it's going to be lower, and it's going to have to affect some of your exercise setup, okay? Our kind of standard fallback length is what we call mid or high calf, right in that range. So when you're standing next to the unit, so we all of our warm-ups and cool downs, and when I do plank work, we come back to that high calf. And so what I'm doing now is adjusting the handle, that hard part, to come down right in that mid to high calf range right here. Now, some people are going to like it a little lower, a little higher, but realistically, if I've got the high calf position, when I get down to a forearm plank facing the floor, and I lift my knees off the floor into that plank, I've got a nice parallel position. Shoulders, hips, heels, all in the same plane. So that kind of tells you that's really your high calf height. Now this one, you can see actually, just because I've got a low clip in point at about 6 feet, my tabs are almost at mid-length, and that's basically my high calf on this setup. So I wouldn't want you to automatically go to mid-length for high calf. Most of you are probably, if you've got that 6'4", 6'6", it's going to be much lower than that. It's going to be kind of halfway between the clips and that mid-length marker, okay? Some of those markers are just little white, little yellow marks, and then sometimes on the newer, the Pro 4, you've got to transition from black to gray to represent that mid-length marking. All right, so a couple of exercises here. First of all, when you're doing your rows, so let's start with just some basic rows here. So just some basic information today. So I've got it at mid-length. So I've got a mat underneath me. You can't see it. And if I'm doing rows here, if I move my feet forward, this is a high row, then I'm going to add resistance. So if I step forward, I now added resistance. And realistically, one of the benefits here of the suspension training is you can modify that resistance with feet positioning without having to stop the set. So you can change resistance during the set. And on a row, what I want to add here as far as just a little form is the shoulders lead the way. So if I'm doing a row, the shoulders start first, then the elbows go. So the hands never pull, okay? And you see how that nice straight line, elbow to wrist stays straight. What I don't want to see is that hand pull, okay? I don't want to see the hand lift. I don't want to see the elbows drop, okay? So on a row, and I'm going to do a low row here, the shoulders lead and the elbows follow through. The hands are just coming along for the ride. They're just holding the handles. And good range of motion coming right up to that rib cage, okay, right here. It's okay for the elbows to break the plane of your back on a row. We don't want to see that on the chest press, on a pushing movement, okay? So these are your rows. Feet about shoulder width or slightly wider. You lose base of support if you get closer together with the feet, or if you move in, then you're going to make things more challenging. Your intensity can change by either adding resistance on a row, moving your feet forward, or increasing your repetition rate, so going a little faster. It also depends on your goals, okay? If you want to get stronger, you want to focus on moving the feet in and get a little higher resistance and slowing things down a little bit, okay? If you're just in your strength is part of the goal, but I really want to lose some weight, or I'm focusing on the endurance. If you're focused on fitness, that's it. then realistically, my translation on that is you're focused on endurance as an endurance athlete. You should be training as an endurance athlete, okay? All right, so that's a little bit on the rows. So when I fully lengthen, I can always do them both at the same time. I can come around here, and now I'm facing away from my anchor point. And I'm gonna just do a little basic chest press here. So I set my feet about shoulder width. The further back I set my feet, the more resistance. Coming forward right here. I'm coming through the plane of my chest, not my shoulders. Coming through the plane of my chest. And I'm stopping that elbow movement right at my torso. I do not let the elbows get behind me on a chest press. This is bad for elbows and shoulders, okay? So if you want to add intensity, you move your feet back or you go faster. And remember, endurance is faster. Feet back is going to move you more towards the strength. Most of the sets we do are in the optimal strength development range, hitting that 40-second range most of the time. We'll go as long as about 50 seconds on most of our sets. And then we'll hit the 30s and 20s on some of the core stuff that's more challenging. Okay, so this is chest press. And with that fully lengthened for your chest press, you can also do your fly work. Okay, so basic chest fly, again, about shoulder width or slightly wider. Palms face forward. I don't have to grip, so you can notice my hands are open. And then I'm coming in and not coming all the way in for that fly. I'm going to keep the hands slightly wider than shoulders. Forward, little pause, bringing it in a little bit, getting that little hold in the front. If I bring my feet closer together, I lose base of support. That makes it harder. I'd rather see you keep on a front fly or plank, keep that shoulder width and just move the feet back if you want to challenge. So this is going to be our rollout plank. A safe rollout plank has you coming right here, kind of biceps to the chin. If you really stretch it out, you just got to make sure you got the shoulders and the low back to support and challenge that reach. And then sometimes we'll take it up a step and we'll go into the foot cradles, the little loop at the very end of your suspension unit. All right, so when you do your turns, if I use this side of the room as my turn when I came here, then I want to use that side of the room when I go back. So arms straight, come back around. Arms straight, go around. Okay, so it's not coming off the straps and coming back on. You just use your arms straight, keep tension in the strap, and you'll never lose that straight line. If I go one way to get here, and then I go the other way to get back, now I'm starting to create corkscrew, okay? So, all right, leg work. Standing leg work here. Typically, we're gonna have that high calf or mid-length. Never have more tension in your grip and your forearms than you need. Only the tension that you need, only the muscle groups that you're working and stabilizing. Okay, so a little lunge here, back lunge. So I can touch the floor, come down, knee over heel, ankle, and then I can either step forward or I can get a little knee lift for a little hip flexor and a little balance. One of the big benefits of the suspension training, we do a lot of unilateral training, one side, and there's a lot of balance components. So if I want to transition this to a back lunge into a balance lunge, I now take away the touch. But make sure still working your butt and your hamstring. What I don't want is to go no touch and end up feeling that come into the quad and the knee, okay? With most of your leg work, we really want to emphasize hamstring and glute. That's where you need the strength, okay? So that's a back lunge. A front squat is just going to place that heel, and it's as if I'm sitting in the chair. But notice my left leg is my working leg, that knee is still over the heel, over the ankle. It's not drifting back behind. It's not pushing forward, okay? And again, I can go into a pistol where I'm just lifting that leg, okay? On leg movements, up to you. How low you go, how fast you go. And then if you want to get a little dynamic, bring in some hops, some jumps, stuff like that, plyometric. Strengthening joints and tendons, increasing cardiovascular demand for the workout. So now you're getting some more cardiovascular benefits, burning some more calories during the workout and after the workout. So we'll try to put those in on our circuit training. All right, so I'm at the high calf. And to get down and in, you've got a couple of ways. You can do a traditional kind of kneeling entry. I can grab just that triangle basically, 1 foot at a time. And then what you're doing for a basic plank here, this is kind of the box, hands and knees. Forearm plank, I'm here, lifting, pushing back. And right here, you should be able to push the heels against the handles for good form. Now, if you don't have adjustable foot cradles, you might slip through, you might have to adjust this, but that's what we're looking for here. Tight in the butt, shoulders back, hands apart, palms down, okay? A lot of progressions on all of our exercises, all of them. So even that forearm plank, we can start to bring in some oscillation forward and back, body saw, little shift side to side, rock the boat. We can work forward and up with the hips, doing some pikes. So that's a forearm plank. Now, forearms are going to get you more core, okay? A little harder from the hands, but you're straining the wrist, less core, more shoulders. So we do some stuff from there, but you want to make sure you're hitting your core mostly from the forearms. So a hand plank is going to be here, lift off and hold. Now any movement here, floor, the further out I go, the harder it will be because of added tension in the strap line. Okay. If the other way to get in is going to do what I call the dead bug entry. So you lay on your back, slide the foot cradles in. There's your dead bug, okay? Then pick a side, but whatever side you go, keep the knees bent. And that's a pretty fast transition, especially if you're going heels to toes in. Okay, so speaking of which, heels in. It's good to do them both at the same time, a little faster. You can go thumb, or I go 2 fingers. Lay back, squeeze against the fingers, pushing down. Now, ideally, again, I'm close to that wall or door, not too far out, that's harder. And then with heels in, we've got some other core exercises we can do, okay? But again, further out is harder. When you're doing your heels in work, you really just wanna make sure you're not doing a little seesaw here, so you wanna keep constant tension. These exercises, a lot of times we focus on knee bend if we don't have the suspension trainer. You need to focus on the heels, even pressure pushing down in so that it doesn't slip, okay? And so it doesn't come out, okay? All right. When you're moving up and down, take your time, especially if you're new to TRX or if you have any blood pressure, hyper or hypotensive, don't rush, okay? Take your time on your transition work. All right, so I think we're just about wrapped up. I'm just gonna check my notes to make sure I've got everything I wanted to tell you. I think so. Oh, the other thing I didn't cover here, fully lengthen, real quick. These are your reverse flies. So this is a T-fly. And what you need to know here is your offset stance, 1 foot behind, is a good way to start with your reverse flies. See that offset stance? Once you get the strength, then you go to parallel. Feet parallel to one another. Nice locked wrists, long arms, elbows straight. And then if you get advanced, you can have 1 foot. There's a little more advanced fly, okay? All right, so that's some basics there. Kind of get you rocking and rolling. Now let's get started on our first workout.